Animalia, we're a Scottish brand with a social heartbeat. We make world-class fightwear that's tested by world champions and regular people like myself. We work in communities in Scotland and our aim is to sell clothing and use the money to make a difference in communities. Our biggest aim is just to try and connect people back to life.
Welcome to this week's YouRevolution episode. In this week's episode, it's all about the comeback story. We sit down with Scottish business owner Tony O'Neill, and Tony's the founder of Animalia Sportswear, who are a sportswear brand based here in Scotland. And Tony tells us about his own personal journey, overcoming mental health challenges, feeling suicidal and feeling uncomfortable in his own skin. And he tells us about his own self-growth journey, how he's overcome those difficult moments in his life and found a sense of purpose and mental resilience by following his dream and creating Animalia, and also following through on climbing mountains here in Scotland, which is a big part of building his own mental resilience. Tony's story is a wonderful example of what can happen when you don't give up. It's a fantastic tale of self-growth of an ordinary guy based here in Scotland. I'm sure you guys are going to love Tony's energy, but before we go into the episode, please feel free to subscribe. We've got a full back catalogue of content based on health, well-being and self-growth. Please subscribe if you can, we'd really appreciate it. A lot of people these days are starting stuff up. We've started YouRevolution. Loads of people beginning to tune in and get quite creative and get things up and running. There seems to be a bit of a cliff edge sometimes for people, and it tends to hinge on the fact of, do you think that you can achieve fame quickly? And I think for me personally, I think it's like whatever you're starting up, it needs to be something that you're willing to put the mileage into.
Yeah.
What advice have you got for anybody out there who's got an idea but might be wanting to maybe get rich quick? What's your advice out there for the journey you've been on?
My advice for getting rich quick wouldn't be to start Animalia. So put that one away. I would just say you just need to be willing to take the hits. It's dead cheesy, it's like Rocky Balboa here. You have got to get smashed. You've got to have people that don't believe you. They've got to tell you what you're doing isn't going to work. They're going to think you're just a wee charity. That's what people say to me. And all this thing they said, I'm just like, cool, alright, well I'm just going to do it anyway. So it's just a matter of just getting your head down and just going for it. Listen to people, but you need to listen to yourself. I'm willing to stand there even if I failed and get back up. So people can throw anything at me. I can be standing there greeting and I'm still got to stand in front of you. I'm still got to stand and represent Animalia. So I'm quite open to showing my weakness, whatever, if people want to see it. I don't see vulnerability as weakness, I see that as a strength.
Where I've grown up and where Mark and myself grown up, and probably yourself as well, going and starting clothing brands, starting well-being businesses, not really the done thing.
No.
That's the sort of stuff that people would have probably taken the piss at you for a few years ago, but I think you find areas where you're interested, and I think like you push in that direction, don't you? And if you've got a great idea, go and explore it, don't hold back.
I think it's one of the ones where, I don't know if this is a good example, but see years ago when I was at primary school, I remember there was a band, right, and secretly you liked them, but if you admitted you liked this band, you would get laughed at and you'd get questioned. There's no need to be questioned, music's music. And that band was Take That. And I remember I thought, these guys are good, but no other boy admitted they liked Take That. See, when we got older, like Gary Barlow's singing away and you're joining in, and you start singing all these songs, and then like different, like Queen, absolutely love Queen and the story of Freddie Mercury. What a story that is. And I think what happens is, and what you're saying there with what you guys are doing, is that you actually start learning that people do like to talk about these things. They might not like to talk dead loud and shout about it, but when you get somebody one-on-one, you learn that, wow, there's something we can do here with our well-being, like educating people. And you just know, I just then get a feeling in my heart when I know these things. I'm like, that's good enough for me. Even if people are like negative about it, it's kind of like, well, if I actually sat down and spoke to you one-to-one, you probably actually get a different response from somebody. Same with the work I've done, working in with young folk, that usually find that if it's just one-on-one, it's a different experience, a different chat.
What's the future got in store for Animalia? What's your ambitions and hopes?
The future is, I want to be an established brand, taken seriously, which would just mean that we're moving in the right direction, we're generating more money. The reason I say that is because of generating more money, we can do a lot more with that, we can give back. Ideally it would be a few milestones is to get into different stores, especially in the fighting world. I would like to be part of putting Scottish fighting on the map.
I love what you're saying. It's like that whole socially conscious business, ain't it? Like being able to give back, and that's what we're trying to do with YouRevolution as well. And I think like we desperately need a lot more of it.
Yeah.
So we talked about this before. Is the reason why people might respond to us talking, you telling your story about the journey you've been on with Animalia, is that they see a lot of themselves in us, and I think that's the way that we can inspire people to go and take whatever crazy idea they might have, and then actually turn that into something really tangible. Like, you know, turn it into a business, turn it into a project, you know, turn it into a brand, whatever it might be.
Definitely.
And like, more power to anybody that might watch this video and go, I could do that, because that's what it's all about. That's the whole purpose of actually doing this entire series on self-growth, is to inspire people. That might be they want to set up a YouRevolution type business. Good. I'm not sitting here worrying. You know, I think there's two views of the world, ain't there? There's a limited amount of resources and people, and we all need to fight for it. Or there's just an abundance of people that all just want to like explore the world, and that there's lots for everybody to go around. That I could sell a hoodie, but you could sell a hoodie as well. That we don't need to compete all the time against each other.
I've been very fortunate to learn from people, and people who have we've set unrealistic goals to a point to try and work towards. So when we're doing the Ben Nevis challenge, I first challenged myself to climb Ben Nevis for as many times as I could in 24 hours. I had a meniscus injury. I just started taking antidepressants, still drinking at the time, left my job, but for some reason I just thought I could climb that as many times as I could. Wasn't even doing any hill walking. Then I met a guy who was my PT client, but became my dear friend, Ali Smith, and he believed that we could do this. He hadn't climbed the hill, he hadn't even done Ben Nevis once, he just believed we could do it. Then going on that journey with him, he actually became the first person that I know to climb it 4 times in under 24 hours. Wow. He was like 57 years old. And then going through his journey, that was instilled in me, And Ali, unfortunately, he lost his life a year ago. It was his anniversary this month, and it was with cancer. But when he was going through that, he said to me, a thing that kept him going was hope. He's like, if we don't have hope, what do we have? And that stuck with me, and that left me with another thing that we used to say: we do things because we can. So that's it, we just do it because we can. We don't do it because we need people saying anything to us, we just do things because we can. So if I want to go and climb Nevis, I'll just do it because I can. Not because I need anything, just because I can. So I'd like to, if people get that, that's what you should do things. Just do it because you can.
We've done a lot of stuff on mental health, and you've touched on the fact that you've maybe suffered from mental health problems yourself, which I think makes it even more interesting that you started this clothing brand, which is blossoming at the moment.
Yeah.
Tell us a wee bit about your journey and challenges with your mental health.
That was it all started about 20 years ago, when I was, well, say 15, actually, possibly before that. As a wee guy growing up, I was always kind of, sometimes I felt I wasn't understood, and I felt I was known as being a bit sensitive, but at the same time, I had a wee bit of anger in me. So it was like I don't know, it was a wee bit bizarre growing up, and then the pressures, I think, when you get to high school, your weight changes, different things, you end up more conscious of how you look and how people perceive you rather than how you are as a person. And then I just started finding myself like a bit of comfort eating. Used to hide the biscuits and take them up the stair, and I was always active, could run about just like the other boys, but I was a wee bit heavier, and it bothered me because I wasn't getting into like pro youth teams. I wasn't trying to better myself in football, so I was a decent wee player. I just didn't have there was sometimes I was a bit too nice, but when I was on the park, I don't know, I like to compete, but I think for me, with even the mental health, and I don't know if this is spoken about a lot, is the whole your body image. As a young guy, I didn't want to get changed in front of the boys, even taps off, never mind anything else. So no showering, none of that. So that actually put me off of doing sports, because I knew if I joined a football team, I'd need to get in the shower. Do you know what I mean? And that's, looking back now, I'm like, I don't do that now, but that had a massive impact. And then I wasn't getting on with my dad a wee bit, we clashed, and I was just an angry wee guy, and ended up, I tried to take some pills, had to go to the hospital and get charcoal. My dad felt quite guilty about that. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault at all. And I felt, looking back now, it really wasn't his. It was just me. I couldn't articulate myself. I couldn't express how I was feeling. And then I just went back to school like normal. Nobody knew a thing, but what was going through my head. I enjoyed school, but I wasn't really there to learn. I was just there to just be nice and quiet. That was it. I wasn't actually being a nuisance or anything like that. I was just being quiet. And when I started drinking, I think that's when it seemed to get better, but then it got worse. It got better in the sense of I found my place because I could down Mad Dog in one drink. Literally just one drink, and that was it, gone. That was my party trick. And then my party trick after that was rolling about the grass for hours. So that wasn't the best for my head, and started going down a journey of taking a few drugs and that. Just wasn't happy, and then I found myself on a train track about 21 years old. It was just after, I think it was before, around about Christmas time. Don't know if it was like the 23rd or when it was, or Boxing Day. But all I remember is I'd scaled 2 fences, wanted to be on this track, phoned my brother. Actually, a train came, and obviously I just jumped out the way, and phoned him and said I just didn't want to be here, I just can't do this anymore. He came to get me, ended up going to doctors, get prescribed antidepressants, and that was really it. That's all I knew back then to do with mental health and mental well-being, and even just talking about your feelings, that just wasn't a thing. Just never. My mum didn't even know what to do, and again, it's nobody's fault. They just don't. How would she just know that? So from them, then experienced different things to do with alcohol. Thought I was an alcoholic. Went to psychiatrists, psychologists, different counselling, threw myself into it all. And over time, the good thing that I got for it over time is that you can talk about these things, that you're not going to get taken away. The other side of it is, I've then learned that if it was more serious, or if it's more of a mental illness, there's nothing wrong with that as well. If people need help, they just need help. Simple as that. They just need a bit of help. It's not anybody's fault. It's quite hard enough without maybe getting judged when your head's not agreeing with you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, mate. I think mental health's a massive issue here in Scotland, and it affects men in particular really badly. And obviously we've got huge addiction problems and stuff, and that's why it's even more important that there are channels and community movements and brands and all sorts of things that are all feeding into a positive narrative where men and women can talk really openly about how they feel and be vulnerable. And like you said, man, vulnerability is strength. It's such an important thing because without that ability, by bottling everything up and keeping it inside, it's always going to find its way out, and it's going to be more disastrous and more dysfunctional, ain't it?
Yeah. And that usually came for me through alcohol. Alcohol was my confidence, especially when I got older. I felt a bit more comfortable with my body. I was playing football at the time, I was quite fit. So that and the alcohol gave me more confidence, and then I started going on a journey, like just having a, I don't know how you say that, what's the right thing to say? just socialising more, connecting with more people, but there was always the hangover bit, and there was always the bit of had to have that to be confident. And then it wasn't until I started working at camp when I was like 24, 25, going to America, working with people with disabilities, different needs, working with people from different countries, that taught me that one, you can't drink when you're working at camp, so you had to be sober, you had to be quite involved in all activities, singing, like care for people. So there was two sides to it, and that kind of brought you to your shell and realised that you don't need to be drunk or any to do these things.
So you've been on, I really appreciate how honest you've been about the journey you've been on with mental health and stuff. How has that helped you with Animalia?
Getting to the other side of that has definitely gave me a lot of strength in some ways, just being able to talk about things. Also as well, I kind of recognise when I'm not feeling the best, and then I do things to help that. And some of it is a bit of self-care, some of it is actually just doing tasks and being quite proactive, and then other times is getting the rain music on, the headphones, and sitting with the stars shining in my house. That's it, and getting on the hills.
What's your number one self-growth tip for anybody out there that's on a journey? Could be mental health journey, could be starting a business journey. What's the number one tip you'd give them?
I think it's to put your ego aside. To really, there's got to be times where you're going to maybe get challenged, and your reaction is to say who you're talking to, and it's not quite the way forward. There's sometimes you will need to stick up for yourself. However, see if you can be willing and open to hear some views, some discussions. That can really help how you can learn. Because I think if you're more open to hearing anybody talk, there's more opportunity to learn, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
There's people out there in the world that I don't really like. However, talking about more like the celebrity or the people in the music sector, that they might also say something and I kind of go, alright, I kind of get what they're saying. It doesn't mean to say I agree with their views or agree with them. Do you know what I mean? So I think that you need to kind of be open to discussions with things. You need to be open to the fact that you can do it. You need to have a bit of a belief in yourself. I don't really know where that comes from. I think it's just there. I think it's just a matter of just saying, like, you can do it. And then the other side is, when things don't go wrong, just own it. Own your mistakes. Be honest about it. They're not perfect. There's nobody's perfect. And I think that it's been better for me to be honest with things and just know that. And just be like, you know what, sorry, I'm totally wrong there.
Sometimes it's funny, ain't it? We make things really complicated as human beings, and then when you strip everything back, things are never actually as complicated as they need to be. And sometimes just having the simple approaches to how to tackle problems or how to grow yourself is just the easiest way. And a lot of that comes from just having an understanding that the world's not perfect.
No.
Been on that journey myself, to be honest. You know, I felt like I had to be perfect at everything. That was my mantra. I put so much pressure on myself to fulfil these fictional roles that I'd probably invented for myself. I'm doing this now, so I need to be doing it in this particular way in order to feel credible, in order to feel loved and whole. And once I began the process of beginning to let that go in the last 12 months have really helped me accelerate that, to trust, to just let go, and just let go to whatever's going to happen. And that's like what this whole YouRevolution journey is about, because I don't know where this is going to end up.
No.
Mark and me say it all the time, but we're just loving our life right now. And I was like, and can you ask for a better measure?
I think that's great. I think that you're in a good position there, because like you're saying about letting go, that's so important. And I've got far better at that. There's been times where I've been approached by people to talk about things, but I've sometimes felt that, why are they asking me these things? And then other side of it is that if you're on LinkedIn, for example, people want to sell things to you, which is fine. I just tell them, I'll be honest. Same with manufacturing. I've learned that you can have a response, and it doesn't have to be at a detriment to your own energy.
A huge thanks to Tony and Neil for his amazing interview on our series on self-growth and development. And we at YouRevolution believe that a daily gratitude practice is a huge part of our own self-growth and development. It can really help us all get to the next level in our lives. So as part of that, we've just launched YouRevolution branded gratitude diaries. You can check them out in the link in the description box below this video.